Well, good morning, folks. Gene Panasanka here with the latest episode of Straight and Unfiltered, one of your favorite channels by now. Hopefully, we interview and have very constructive conversations and discussions with multitude of professionals from attorneys, CPAs, advisors of different types, all in an effort to bring value to small businesses, entrepreneurs, um, and the feedback has been pretty incredible. We're getting more and more folks subscribing to the channel. So please, if you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button, like, and hopefully you're gonna generate more traction for the channel. But more importantly, you're gonna be getting more and more value for yourself and your businesses and endeavors. All right. So we have a great guest today, somebody I've known for the last 3 years. Um, Garrett Halsell, who is the founding partner of Advanced Fox Direct. Garrett is a great professional. He has been providing his valuable advice and expertise to the business owners, not only in the New York tri-state metro area, but also pretty much all across the US. Garrett, welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me, Gene. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We have been in touch, obviously, sort of last year, of the lockdowns, and this year has been nothing but, challenging to say the least for pretty much
Yep.
any type of business, unless you're the Amazon or the Walmart.
Yep.
These guys, they have been multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, and they've been boosting and increasing their revenues, their sales, all across. But the small, businesses and not so small businesses. I mean, we're seeing some conglomerates like Sheraton, Hilton, right in the Midtown Manhattan, they're shut down. They're just gone when there is no money, coming in, when there is no tourism, happening, no conferences, no conventions. This is what New York City has been famous for forever. No Broadway shows, no exquisite, gourmet dinners, at some of the top tier, chefs across the city.
Right.
I mean, the flow of folks into the city, either as mom and pop tourists or commercial flow, it really pretty much stopped. It's nothing but depressing seeing all those places boarded up, shut down. Very sad. But we're always positive folks here. We're always trying to bring some positive stream into what we're going through. So I know you're one of the most positive and optimistic people out there. I truly enjoy our friendship and the business relationship as far as networking together, the chambers of commerce and all those wonderful networking venues that we have been attending so frequently and so extensively over 3 years. And let's hope and pray that we can get back to some, and I stress the word, some kind of normalcy, right? Because it's totally unrealistic to expect that certain percentage of the people are going to get vaccinated and they're going to just live the lockdown, and voila, we're going to get back on track with what we have been doing before. It's just not happening. When the people feel differently, I'm open to any kind of discussion and constructive, criticism and arguments. But again, it's a domino effect. When the business is shut down, a lot of suppliers, they're shut down, and again, it just impacts so many people out there. Yep. But again, glad to see you on the channel, Garrett. We saw each other right before the shutdown began. I guess you were one of the people that I saw literally in the last few days when New York City was still a free area to live and operate your business and transact your normal day-to-day activities. So again, welcome back. I would love you to share, take us back all the way to your childhood years. I know that you are a proud son of a great state of Texas, which obviously, is enormous, and it's quite a different culture, as far as everything is concerned. So please, speak to the audience about your background.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing I think that Texas and New York both have in common that are unlike pretty much the rest of the country, and this is not an insult to the rest of the country at all, but Texans and New Yorkers are about the most patriotic people that you can be or that you can meet that aren't specifically patriotic about America, right? Everyone's patriotic about America, but New Yorkers, they're proud to be from New York. Like, I feel that, especially in Texas. Texans are the most patriotic people you'll ever meet, especially when it comes to Texas. They're almost more patriotic for Texas than they are for America. And I feel the same way about New York, and that New Yorkers feel that way as well, right? Now, other places I'm sure have their pride for their state or their city or whatever, but um, I don't think it really compares to New York and Texas, as those are the biggest examples of that in the country, right? Um, so definitely proud to be from Texas. Definitely proud to be in New York. Two incredible places in our country, with two very, very different approaches to most things.
Sometimes fundamentally different.
I know, right? Yeah, they're almost polar opposites in a lot of ways, which is cool. I like seeing different perspectives. I like seeing differing opinions so that I can see other perspectives that I'm not surrounded by all the time. You know, I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I want to see other opinions and perspectives and facts, and make my
This is
decision
what
from
America
there.
is all about, respecting each
Yeah,
other's opinion, having constructive conversation as
yeah,
opposed to, cutting each other's, throats when you're in
right.
disagreement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like, if we disagree, cool, we disagree. I mean, like, there's no reason to really be offended about that. It just means you disagree. And then to take it a step further, like, there's no reason to get all up in a tizzy about it just because you disagree, you know? Um, like,
It's
there's
so
some things
true.
I like, there's some things that you like, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, so you grew up in Texas. What area in Texas? Because it's such a huge, vast,
Mhm.
extensive place. What
Yeah.
area specifically here?
So I grew up in the DFW Metroplex. I grew up like almost smack dab in the middle. Dallas was 20 minutes to my right, and Fort Worth was 20 minutes to my left, right? So um, the DFW Metroplex has approximately the same amount of people that New York City had at its peak, which is around 10 million people, but it's got 10 times the space, right? 8 to 10 million people in 10 times the space. So things are more spread out, right? You can't get anywhere if you don't have a car. You just can't. Even downtown Dallas, you kind of need a car. And that's true of most of the state of Texas. It's like, you're going to need a car pretty much wherever you're going. Train's not going to cut it. There is no subway. So you're going to have a car if you want to get anywhere.
And just for the benefit of the folks that are not that familiar with Texas or have never been down there, I wanted to point out that the Cadillac of Texas is a Suburban. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's what the folks love.
Yep.
The heavy, heavy duty, SUV vehicles, heavy duty pickups. That's
My
what the
mama
folks.
loves her Suburban.
Absolutely, and
We've had 4 or 5 in the last 10 years or so. It's incredible. But with that being said, like, the way you measure distance is different, right? In Texas, 20 miles is about 20 minutes. Whereas in New York, 20 miles could very well take you an hour and a half, depending on traffic.
I was
So,
just at the gym this morning, and I was listening to to the news, and one of the snippets was that New York City is by far the worst as far as the traffic. Where again,
mhm,
the amount of time the people uh, waste getting stuck in the traffic, not just trying to get into the city. Again, you know what the tunnels can be, you
right.
know what the bridges can be. They're shut down, because of the accidents, some police activity, whatever the case may be. And ultimately, again, the people are wasting countless number of hours that could be so much better spent, by putting that time into the business, developing the business, creating new jobs, generating revenue, paying
Mhm.
taxes to the state, local, and the federal government. So yeah, it's a huge benefit that the people, uh, again, the folks that live outside of the New York metro area, they don't they can enjoy, and this is something that us, here in the New York metro area, we're just not privy to. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
unfortunate, it's
exactly.
reality. But again,
Yeah.
it comes with the territory, the density of population, as you stated. Hey, it just it's totally different. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And there's not really anything wrong with that. It's just is what it is, you know. More people choose to be here than choose to be in DFW, and that may be changing eventually, you know. Saw in the news yesterday, Elon Musk is building a city called Starbase, Texas.
I I
That's
true
exciting.
I'm truly excited. I will tell you, I applauded his decision because again, when you are again, California used to be such a wonderful state. It's beautiful as far as the nature. There's still plenty of great people, populating that wonderful state. But reality is that the local and the state governments, they've been getting absolutely out of touch with reality, the reality that the average American, family has been living through. And when again the governments take sides with, illegal folks that came here pursuing whatever they're pursuing. But again, the government has no problem spending billions of dollars to support those folks, which here legally, criminally, whatever the case may be, and yet they absolutely ignore the locals. And the taxes, they never mind that they've been high across the board to begin with, but in the last few years, as we all know, they've been just escalating to the level where the companies like Elon Musk is a perfect example. It's a multi-billion-dollar entity, and he moves out of California to Texas. So again, kudos to Texas for being so appealing and attractive to him and many other folks. They don't necessarily have to be billionaires, but the power is in numbers. And when we're seeing the outflow of hundreds of thousands of people from California to the neighboring states, being it, Texas or Nevada or Arizona, then that trend, in my opinion, is going to just keep continuing, because again, the government's trying to, keep themselves going. They're going to have no choices but just keep elevating and escalating the taxes, which is going to drive even more people out, as opposed to attracting people, individuals and small business owners. So don't see how it's going to benefit the state and the cities throughout California with this trend.
Yeah, in the long term, I don't think it's sustainable, and it's not conducive to a good model of growth for a state like that. But at the same time, like what you said, just in terms of being excited about it, right? I'm super pumped for it because aerospace is actually part of my background. So I keep a special kind of tabs on Elon, but also knowing that I'm going to be moving back to Texas eventually to start my own aerospace company is really exciting, because I'm not doing that here in New York.
It's fascinating, and that's the question I wanted to ask of you, to share with the audience. I know your background is engineering, aerospace. So it's a truly fascinating area, to study and master, which is what you've done successfully. And that's a great choice that I truly applaud. I mean, look, in the last, few decades, unfortunately, we have, countless number of people, millions of Americans, and they've been wasting valuable time and years studying some meaningless, subjects, pursuing some absolutely, meaningless, as far as I'm concerned, degrees, where your engineering, background, it really gave you even stronger backbone, to understand so many business issues. And now with aerospace and Elon Musk, which is growing exponentially, you have all the options, either to pursue your own, venture in that space, or join forces with some of the best of the best.
If he'll take me, I'll work for him. I don't care. Elon Musk is awesome.
You don't need references. You have plenty of great people who can endorse you. But in case you need an extra one, I'll be happy to provide any kind of references, because
Awesome.
you will be a huge asset to Elon Musk, and eventually to not just the country, because what he's doing is really going to benefit the world as well. But America first, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fascinating. So I would like you to probably spend a few minutes, Garrett, and speak about how your engineering background, aerospace, specifically, how it impacted your standpoint, your view, your approach to business. Probably it gave you some extra boost, to develop, more strict discipline, if you will, in approaching and executing your business issues.
Yeah. It certainly did that in a myriad of ways, right? So, for a little bit of context, I was homeschooled as a child, right? So my mother taught me.
One of the reasons why you came out so much ahead of the pack.
maybe
more and more people, with all the insanity, polluting, and I can't use any different word, polluting the minds of the kids nowadays in public schools, which is absolutely obscene, in my opinion, where again we spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions no country in the world is nowhere near to the expenses of the United States for public education. And yet, when you look at the product, that we produce, it's horrible. It just such a huge disconnect. So again, more and more people, they are switching to homeschooling, and I applaud the decision until they get their act together and really change the system. But it's going to take a dramatic effort. Uh, so again, I don't know how realistic it is to see anytime in the near future, if at all, considering the latest trends that we're going through. Not to go into details of that because this is the business channel. But again, homeschooling, it definitely works, and you're a perfect example of that. So
Yeah,
congrats.
yeah, absolutely. So my mother decided to homeschool me, and we did that pretty much until I was basically a senior in high school. Um, and so I started going to an actual college campus, taking college classes when I was 15. And then I graduated when I was 17, because I was able to do it faster because I was doing it at my own pace, which was just naturally faster because I wanted to learn, and I loved learning. And so I got my degree in general science, kind of with a specialization in chemistry. Like ask me about a formula, I'm not going to be able to tell you anything. But when it comes to just this intuitive understanding of how the blocks of life work together and how they compound with one another, and it just makes sense in my head, and I couldn't really explain it to you. And so I had a friend of mine who was the manager of an aerospace warehouse, doing electroplating and things like that. I thought it was pretty cool, so I thought I'd ask for a job, and I got it. And it definitely taught me many, many lessons about business, from an employee's perspective, just about how management is important and how it ought to be handled in a way that is conducive to growth when it comes to interacting between employees and management, because sometimes those lines can get crossed in some really, really ugly ways. And it's all miscommunication at that point, right? I got really frustrated with my managers sometimes, but it was always because of miscommunication, not because they're bad people. um, as far as like how it equipped me for now, I don't know if it really did. It definitely taught me some really awesome lessons. It taught me some important perspectives. But when it comes to starting my own businesses and running my own businesses, really, I don't think that that wasn't the position that taught me everything that I know. I was out knocking on doors when I was 8 and 9 years old, trying to sell little crystals that I had made in the house,
But it
right?
builds character, Garrett. It builds character. You know that.
Oh
I
yeah.
know that. You're seeing so many people, and they go through years and decades of schools, public schools, private schools. They go to colleges, they go to graduate, postgraduate schools, and God bless them. Look, I mean, I love getting educated. To me, basically, life every day is an education. You either go up or you go down, regardless of the circumstances, environment. Instead of trying to find excuses, you're trying to see the reasons why it makes sense to develop. To become a better person. Stronger
Right.
professional, so you can offer more value to whoever is benefiting from your advice
Yeah.
and expertise. But again, if the people don't have the basic discipline, if the people cannot push themselves to do what you have been doing, as you're saying, since basically childhood, early childhood, walking, the neighborhoods, knocking on the doors, that allowed you to have the discipline and the power and the strength, that eventually translated into your level of success that you have been enjoying, down the
Mhm.
line, at this
Yeah,
stage in your career. So
absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
remarkable. Yeah.
And I think that there's a delineation that's really important to recognize, is this distinction between education and the education system. Education is accessible completely separate from the education system. And while the education system does teach an important core curriculum, it also teaches some other stuff that we don't really realize, like punctuality, conformity, the ability to do menial tasks, right? And that's all fine and dandy. It was built in the midst of the Industrial Revolution, and it continues to educate people in how to be a good line worker, right? How to be a good worker. That's a really important secondary curriculum that it's taught. But I don't want to get too far into that, but it's important that we protect the education system. And I think that a lot of the critique that comes to the education system is because of the politicization of it, not because of the actual education.
So
And that's
true.
kind of where I'll leave it.
So true. Excellent points. Truly very helpful. Let's talk about, again, your line of business. And we'll start with my stating that most of the people agree that we're seeing a new paradigm shift. Not just, in the last year, though the last year really exacerbated the need to go digital, as far as marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But the last year, and specifically in places like New York, which was the first place to get shut down, locked down, and California,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of businesses have been just driven out of business altogether. A lot of them, they're struggling to stay afloat. But since the regular channels of communication, the regular networking venues are not available for any time or foreseeable future, I guess at this point, unlike at any point in the past, the digital marketing becomes more and more critical. And it's not just, hey, you can grow your business by an additional 10, 15, 20% in revenue increase, but, is it something that will allow me to stay alive to begin with? So the reason that I'm glad you are joining us today on this channel is because that's your area of expertise. And I would like you to speak about what you have been able to do for your business clients prior to the lockdowns and how you've been able to aid them and navigate them through the last year as we're struggling, to really keep those businesses going. So please
Yeah.
take it away. Yeah.
So, one of the important things to realize is that a lot of what I do is the same before and after COVID, but because of COVID, it's definitely changed the way that I communicate and where we put the emphasis on what's important, right? Prior to COVID, it's all about that omni-channel experience, being reachable anywhere, any way, and then being able to reach back out and communicate anyway, anyhow. But, that message kind of changed with COVID, right? So for context for the viewers, what I offer is a platform called Vox Direct, and it is a unified communication system which comprises a business virtual phone system as well as SMS marketing. Right. So when I learned about the company, when I helped to found it, I fell in love with SMS marketing. Right. And by extension, I love the company Vox Direct. I think they do wonderful work and they have a wonderful product. And for the people that I talk to, it's best fit most of the time. Right. But essentially what it does is it turns my personal cell phone into my business and personal device, right? And so having that immediate and intimate interaction with someone is super important. So as a byproduct, the messaging changed from omni-channel communications into kind of facilitating a remote workforce, having your business in your employees' homes so that they can continue working. And then as far as outreach goes and like communicating with your audience and your customers, it's like, hello, we're all at home. If you're not talking to me here, what I'm on most of the day while I'm sitting here on the couch at home waiting for something to do, if you're not talking to me here, I don't hear you. I don't see you. If you're reaching out to me right here, I'm talking to you. And if you're getting text from me, I'm talking to you, right? And so facilitating that and continuing that, building communication and relationship is the key to success in this time, because not only is conversational marketing becoming more important, but the real important part is that we're in it together. And when you're there to provide service to them in a time where other people aren't reachable, that's what sets you apart from other businesses. And that's one of the things that I help set you up to do, right? We set you up for success in that way. So.
And it truly makes a lot of sense, Garrett. I'm one of the happy recipients of the services that your company and yourself have been providing even before we got hit with the pandemic. And I can attest to the fact that, hey, being in New York City, I mean, we do have a multitude of different choices available for business networking events of different types and forms. And I'll never forget one of my clients. He's Dutch, and he grew in well, I mean, the whole Netherlands is tiny, as you know well.
Oh yeah.
And he came from Rotterdam, and he says, well, when I grew up, when I was a teenager back home in Netherlands, I would be looking through the newspapers because that was pre-internet, and he was thinking, well, next week they have this event, and the following week they have that event. And then he ended up coming to study here in the U.S., ended up marrying one of the local maidens, and happily, planted roots in New York City, where he ran a gallery that unfortunately fell victim, as one of multiple victims to this pandemic that we're going through. But nowadays, obviously, in New York City, we have so many choices. We had so many choices prior to the pandemic, and somebody like yourself bringing that consolidated choice, where you blast to thousands of your subscribers, hey, this is what's available for the following few days. Sign up if you like, strike if you can't care less, ignore, disregard. I think that alone saved me a lot of time. It saved me a lot of effort, as opposed to going through a multitude of different websites. But knowing the preferences of your clients, you can slice and dice, and then you can channel them to the appropriate, again, recipients based on their preferences. So I personally think that was an absolutely incredible instrument that probably every business person, every aspiring entrepreneur should be utilizing. But especially, again, in the environment that we're going through, where nothing physical is available, but at the same time, we've seen the number of different webinars and podcasts literally grow exponentially and skyrocket. So it just gives so much more meaning to what you have been offering. And I feel very strongly that, again, the audience and the small business owners, entrepreneurs, business people, they will benefit tremendously by utilizing this level of expertise and services. It will just make them so much more efficient, and hopefully will open up a lot more doors that they've been absolutely unaware of, because, again, they're in business focusing on what they're best in, which is doing whatever, but your line of expertise is completely different. And this is exactly bringing those kind of venues, for educating, networking, between the professionals. And I think that, again, it's a great value.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I actually didn't intend to make a business out of that. That was just me trying to use what service I was providing to sell the service. It ended up being a business that I didn't really make intentionally. Right. I decided, hey, I just text a whole bunch of people about these events that I think are really cool. And then it started making me money. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then COVID destroyed that,
So even as a supplement, when it just, when it just started getting traction, obviously it's not a multi-million-dollar operation at that time, but you're seeing the value, you're helping businesses, you're definitely using it as an extra instrument to network yourself. But hey, if you can generate whatever revenue stream you've been generating at that time, and obviously as the time goes by, you keep growing it pretty much exponentially from what I could see. And the fact that you selected the instrument, hey, let's focus on your phone and text messages, because, hey, it's been years and decades since that famous movie, You Got Mail came out. So at that point, it was like a huge thing. Hey, you get the Bing, on your computer, on no laptops at that time, I guess, just your desktop. And you got the mail, and it's like an event. Now everybody is on everybody's list. We're getting inundated. Now it's a problem of not to get the mail, but how to get off their list, unsubscribe. So when you have somebody's...
That's an important thing.
Yeah.
That's an important thing. When You Got Mail came out, you were excited to get an email. I wasn't here for the beginning of email. I'm not going to pretend like I'm older than I am, right? But the same thing exists with SMS, with text messages. When you get something from someone, it means that they took the time out of their busy schedule and their day to send you a message, to check in on you, to ask about something, to tell you about something. But like you said, now we're getting inundated. That's the problem. And that's one of the keys of conversational marketing. And by the way, conversational marketing can take place via text, can take place on Instagram. It could take place on Facebook Messenger. It could take place on WhatsApp, right? The key is that it's personal and it's intimate. And so the exact channel you use isn't necessarily a huge deal. What's really important is that conversation. And when you get that, when you start understanding that and start leveraging it, I guarantee you'll see results in your business you've never seen before.
Very compelling reasons to at least test drive your program. No doubt about that. Something that separates you substantially, because as you know, like pretty much any area of the market, any kind of business, when you look at the New York metro area, I mean, we have probably the highest concentration of talent, not only from all over the country, but from all over the world by far. We have some very accomplished professionals coming here and trying to get established, and some of them they do successfully, but more often than not they don't succeed, and they go back to the places they came from. So really, to stay alive, it takes a lot more than just a desire and a passion, and you do have both of them. But in addition to that, what I found myself, and by having conversations with the people that have been utilizing your advice and expertise, I mean, the fact that you're so client focused. So I really would like you to expand on what it means for you, putting the clients first, at the expense of the business, at the expense of whatever, revenue you may be forfeiting for the time being, but you're really contributing to building that relationship to make sure that the client does see the value that you bring to the table. And that, hey, you're not going to get paid necessarily today or tomorrow, but come the day after tomorrow and the following week and the following months, that client will recognize the value that you've been bringing to growing his business, and he's going to give you the business, and probably he will become one of the best spokespeople, if you will, for your own business, by spreading the word about his experience of working with you. So I would love you to expand on that, Garrett.
Yeah. It comes from a compounding of quite a few different outlooks and quite a few worldviews, I'd say, right? So first of all, you have to recognize that I'm not an altruist. I don't believe altruism truly exists. People aren't good just for the sake of being good. I help people because I derive pleasure from that. I helping people makes me happy, so I do it, right?
And it shows, by the way.
Yeah. And so I'm not being good just for good's sake. I'm being good because it makes me happy and it brings me joy, right? Not everyone's wired that way. That's okay. Everyone has their drivers. But for me, I know that I'm selfishly selfless. I am selfless because it makes me feel good. So it's almost selfish in a sense, right? So start with that, right? But then additionally, like I place absolutely no value in money except for the fact that it's a tool to get me what I want. There's no existential value to money or currency in general. I don't like it. I don't love it. I just see it. I see it as valuable to me doing what I want, right? And
The means to
so,
the end, yeah.
yeah. And so if I don't have this value in money that society has historically put upon money, then I'm not going to treat it the same way, nor am I going to be affected by it the same way that other people are, right? I don't chase the money. My bills are paid. I literally don't have to worry about money. On top of the fact that I'm provided for, right? And so, like, I don't have to have this pressure that a lot of people do, which is great. I'm very gifted. I'm thankful for that. But there is a level of uncertainty that comes with it, but there's an acceptance that is necessary with that. So first of all, I have no tie to the money. I really couldn't care less if I get paid or not. What I care about is finding a solution to a problem. I'm a good problem solver. I like puzzles. I like figuring out the solution. Well, when I'm talking to a client or a prospective client, I want to find that piece that fits perfectly. And that's part of why I created my own agency as Advanced Vox Direct instead of just Vox Direct, is it gives me a little bit more flexibility to not have to compromise on what I'm telling people is best for them, right? I get to tell them whatever product I think works for them. It's like there are people who it's like normally you might be a client or you might fit as a client, but I think Twilio is actually a better option for you, right? And I want that because that's going to give them a better solution, which is going to look better for me, right? Why would I give them a bad recommendation if I know that as a byproduct of building relationship with this person, it's going to break their trust that I lied to them to start off, right? And within that is hidden this idea that all of my business is about building relationships. Right now, it's in the context of telecommunications and text message marketing and SMS, right? But over time, I'm not going to be doing this for the entirety of my life. And so I'm going to have relationships that I keep, some that I lose or that fade away, and that's life. But how can I expect to have success in the future if my origin story or my first chapter is built on lies and deceit and things that aren't me, that aren't who I am? So I have to live authentically. I have to live with integrity. I'm very value driven in a lot of ways. You're going to be hard pressed to try to get me to do something I don't feel good about doing, right? Like you mentioned the networking event business earlier. I was also doing promotions for people for free, right? And there was one day that someone asked me to promote an event that was for couples for their sexual health, right? And I told him, I was like, look, man, I love you. I love your business. I want to help support you, but this it doesn't really make sense for me to promote this event, in my opinion. First of all, I'm single. I'm not in a relationship, so I have no idea if this event is good or not. But second of all, it's encouraging something that I personally don't believe with, and I want to make sure that everything I do is staying consistent with my values, right? And so I can't promote this, but if I can help you in another way, let me know. And he respected that, you know. And I think most people, generally speaking, will, as long as you're not assuming that my something that you asked me to do isn't coherent with my values. That's not a judgment on you, right? And he recognized that, and that it's beautiful that he did, because it avoids a lot of conflict if you don't take things personally like that, right?
And I and I truly
Yeah.
applaud that approach, Garrett. We know we can't be everything to everybody at the same
Mhm.
time. I'm not necessarily saying that you need to have a very narrow niche that you choose to specialize in, like some folks and some businesses they do, and some of them they get
Mhm.
very successful in that very narrow or ultra narrow, I would say, niche. But most of the business advisors like yourself, they're generalists, if you will. But at the same time, as you stated, you don't necessarily need to sacrifice your beliefs, your fundamentals, whatever they are for you as an individual, as a person, as a business owner, and as an American ultimately. So does it mean that you may miss on certain chunks of business, coming
Yep.
potentially your way?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. But I think it's going to build up your recognition by the people that share the same beliefs, and that's how you're going to benefit by actually expanding your business, probably with those
Mhm.
people focusing on giving you probably more
Right.
business or making more introductions with the similar people who share the same kind of
Yeah.
values, which are so near and dear to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I wouldn't want to capture every single piece of business, because I'm not trying to be everything to every person, you know. And kind of by the nature of my services, it is kind of intimate, because I'm helping in some ways that you're interacting very closely with customers. So not only is it really good for us to be aligned, right, in a lot of ways, but it's also it's predicated on us having this same understanding of values and how to interact with people. I don't want to have a customer that's going to spam their clients. It just not doesn't make sense to me, right? Um, and when it comes to differing opinions, like, I accept those with grace. I accept those with love. I love other opinions. I love other perspectives. Um, at the same time, though, there are some things where it comes down to, like, if we don't agree on this, then we can't do business. If you don't think SMS marketing works, there's no reason for me to be working with you, right? Um, or if like, my personality and my identity is kind of integral to my brand. right? And so this kind of like relates to my dating life, right? I would not want to have a business relationship with someone um, on the basis that I'm acting a certain way or that I'm being a certain person, right? Because rejection's not bad in my opinion. Actually think it's pretty good. So like if a girl rejects me, right, someone I'm into, I want them to reject me for me. So I'm going to be as genuine and authentic as I can be so that they're rejecting the real me and not some imitation of myself that I created for them because I thought they'd like it. Because now, what if now I have no idea if they like me for me or not, or if they just disliked me because of the way I was acting. It works the same way with business. I want to be fully myself so that part of that buy is not just the product and service that I provide, but also myself, and that you have to interact with me. And so if that is going to be a problem, I want you to reject me on the basis that I'm being myself and not that I am being this person who I thought you would close with, or not this kind of person that I thought you would want to do business with. I don't really care. You're going to do business with who you want to do business with. Those people are probably going to be similar to you. They're probably going to be like you. You're probably going to like them, but I want that to be authentic and genuine. So if I don't mesh well with you, probably shouldn't do business that way,
That makes
because
sense.
yeah,
Truly, truly. Um, let's shift gears and
for sure.
speak about what it takes to really launch the business, keep the business going, and ultimately grow the business and hopefully have a successful outcome as far as building the legacy for your kids, or exit strategy in selling your business or practice. Most of the folks out there, they've watched, I'm a huge aficionado of the Shark Tank, program. One of the
Yeah.
biggest sharks is Kevin O'Leary, which
Yeah.
is remarkable in my opinion. I
Is he
had a
your
chance.
favorite?
I truly believe he is
Yeah.
because we just happen to share a lot of things. I mean, look, size
I can
wise,
see it.
he's a mega size, entrepreneur, owner of
Hmm.
multiple businesses, very successful operator of, of investment funds. God bless him. But again, it just common sense approach that I think he has been sticking with, through
Hmm.
many years that I've been following him on the Shark Tank and through multiple other interviews that I've seen him. One time, actually, I had a chance to meet him at one of the business events hosted by
I walked past him in LaGuardia.
but well, I actually had a chance to meet with him. Yeah, no, not just at the airport. It was one of the great events hosted at the Bloomberg headquarters, as you
Hmm.
know, on Lax Avenue. So again, great man. But he coined, I think, the term entrepreneur as opposed to
Mm.
entrepreneur. So we're seeing countless number of people, millions probably, of folks that would love to be business owners, that would love to have everything, all the benefits associated with the ownership of your own business, being the boss of yourself, if you will. Though again, most of the people that have been launching businesses, they will say, hey, you're a free man, but your freedom comes only to choosing what 18 hours per day you choose to work. You choose to do it
Yeah.
from 6 o'clock in the morning until midnight, or from midnight until early in the morning, depending on the line of business you're in. But so entrepreneur versus the real entrepreneur. So I know you have a very extensive experience of working with multitude of different businesses over years. Yeah, so I'd like you to share just your common traits that you find in the people who are really passionate about launching and operating and getting the business going. They have the passion, they have the discipline, they have whatever it takes, versus other people who are just, trying to give it a shot randomly pretty much. And then very shortly after, they're not seeing immediate results. They're throwing the towel and they're saying, well, gee, it didn't work for me. So I'd like you to elaborate based on your extensive business experience of working with multitude of different companies.
I think one of the primary things that it comes down to begin with is your action, period, right? One big marker between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur is the doing. An entrepreneur is just going to do more than a wantrepreneur. A wantrepreneur is probably not going to do much. They're probably going to mainly be talking about it,
Right.
right? That being said, being an entrepreneur is not easy, right? And so while that action distinction is important, there are certainly a number of different qualities or actions that some people may not be knowledgeable about, or they may not be aware of, are helpful for them, right? So maybe they are an entrepreneur, maybe they are doing as much as they can, maybe they're posting on social, maybe they're creating content, maybe they're doing lead gen, maybe they're networking, maybe they're doing everything right, but they're still not getting the results. And to that, I would say, first of all, knowing your customer is huge. It's one of the most important parts, because knowing your customer guides everything you do. Your solution, your product is specifically built for somebody dealing with something. And if you're not talking to that right person about that right thing, doesn't matter what you're selling, it's not going to work, right? So make sure that you know your audience, you know your customer. Um, Make sure you know your shit, frankly. And I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. I'm sorry, if I'm
That was
not.
in French. That was in French. So we're gonna put a
Oh
twisted
yeah,
translation at the bottom. Yeah.
on the journal de papier. So
That
basically,
was a very good command. Yeah.
the idea is like, you need to know what you're talking about and know what you're doing before you start saying that you have all the answers, right? I don't have all the answers. I'm still
Nobody
learning every day.
does. Nobody
Nobody
does.
does. Yeah.
That's an eternal search. The Holy
Yeah,
Grail.
absolutely. So, like, you can break it down in a lot of different ways for different problems and what may be the causes and solutions to that. But for an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, the biggest difference is action. Entrepreneurs talk big talk. They may have the right vocabulary, they may have some of the right knowledge, but if you don't take action on it, nothing's going to happen. As an entrepreneur, if you feel like you're doing all of the right things, but you're not getting any results, go back over the way that you're communicating or marketing you/your product or service to your audience, and make sure that that's the right audience. Those are the biggest, broadest, most applicable things I think would be helpful at this juncture. Outside of that, you would have to get really contextual on the situation for the solution to that problem.
Those are excellent points indeed, Garrett, and thanks for sharing them. And consistency, I might add as well, because I know that you've been extremely
100%.
consistent. I mean, either it comes to the basic follow-up, because again, the whole purpose of networking to ultimately generate hopefully new business relationship is really making new contacts. But the fact that you shook somebody's hand, or you have been introduced on the webinar or on the Zoom call to somebody, does not necessarily mean that it's going to be developing into anything meaningful. So again, follow up and consistency. I know you've been very good in anything that you have been implementing along your business line. So if you want to spend just a few more minutes before we go into the wrap up portion
Sure.
of our podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to that follow up, we hear it all the time, fortunes in the follow up. That's true. But a lot of times it's more like a competition, right? You're following up with however many people, but that person you're following up with is probably following up or being followed up with by a number of other people. And so it's kind of just like, who lasts out the longest? Who am I talking to the longest? And that's going to foster a deeper relationship, whether that's surface level or deeper, with that person. And that's going to lead to more opportunities to speak and talk to them and help or build relationship, right? The way that I look at networking in any in any context, since the very beginning, is networking is not a place where I'm selling anything. I don't want to sell anything. And in some cases, I don't even want to talk about details of my product or service until another call. Networking is for the purpose of earning the right to have a second call or to have another interaction, right? When I'm at a networking event, I'm not trying to pick anyone up. I'm not there just to drink. I'm not there to sell or recruit or sell on the handshake, right? I am there to meet people. And if I think someone is dope or cool, or that we vibe, we get along, or even
Some
that our
chemistry that you
businesses,
can utilize to work together. Yeah.
yeah, building that common ground and that basis of commonality is a huge way to just say, hey, you know, I've enjoyed this interaction. I want to talk to you again, and then we can talk a little bit deeper about business if that's cool with you. Um, and so now my networking, usually I'm only talking to one person for at most around 5 minutes. I don't want to talk to someone for longer than that. And if it's shorter than that, it's probably not a good thing. I'm probably not going to talk to that person. But you've got to be respectful of your time and their time. So don't be following up with every single person. Only follow up with the people you really want to talk to or you think are useful or
And it's
valuable to talk to.
and it's so true. I mean, so many times you and I have seen people which are new to networking, that they're trying to, launch the business, or they're trying to
You
develop.
want me to judge someone? You
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want me to just you want me to say this person's not worth my time? That's mean. That's rude. That might be offensive. It's like, no, if anything, it's respectful because
It's
you're not going to waste our time.
it's so true, absolutely so true. So, a lot of times they don't really have a confidence to network and meet new people.
Mhm.
And once they find the soul that would resonate with their whatever, beliefs or misery, whatever you want to call it, they would just spend the whole, either it's breakfast networking event or
Mhm.
nighttime, with a drink in hand, speaking and commiserating with that person. That really defeats the whole purpose. If you're looking for a drink, just go to a regular bar, and just get
Yep.
slammed, and that will probably fulfill the purpose. But
Mhm.
if the goal is really to develop some kind of business relationship, you definitely need to meet more than one or two people. But at
Yep.
the same time, as you pointed out, it is absolutely counterproductive to be spending more than, say, 5 to 6, 7 minutes tops,
Yeah.
probably, uh, just to get to know the person, at least,
Yeah.
superficially, exchange the business cards, contact information, say, hey, when we can take it to the next level, and
Yeah.
hopefully, have more productive conversation without the noise of this networking event. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, I've seen it countless number of times, repeatedly, lost track of how many people keep repeating the same mistake. And when you are politely trying to point out, hey, you don't want to focus on the same person for the rest of the event, a lot of times they just get offended. So again, more power to them. I guess they got it all figured out. But I'm glad to see that your
Yeah.
beliefs that resonate with mine, we're pretty much on the same page in that respect. And we know that those
There are
are the
special
strategies.
exceptions to that, though.
Absolutely. But we know that at the end of the day, those are the strategies that ultimately will be productive, they will be efficient, and they will generate the results, or increase the probability of generating the results that everybody is looking to achieve.
Right.
Well, Garrett, we're going to be respectful of our viewers and listeners' time. So I know we can talk for a long time, exchanging some helpful and fruitful ideas, on supporting the businesses and
Absolutely.
helping the business community. Before we wrap it up, uh, I would like you to state, I see that there was a lot of information on the screen. So as far as your contact info to get in touch with you for anyone who would choose to have a conversation with you
Mhm.
for the networking purposes, or trying to hear your position on whatever expertise you bring to them. So what is the best way for those folks to get in touch with you, Garrett?
Absolutely. So as you can see above my head, it says text Garrett to 844-267-6492. That'll give you my phone number, my email. It'll give you my socials. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube. Eventually, I'm going to have a podcast. We'll see about that. And then secondarily, you could also scan this QR code if you're watching the video, and that'll take you to a web page where you can choose an industry, and then it'll give you more contextual information about what SMS marketing looks like in that industry for specific purposes. And then you'll be able to schedule a call through that line of dialogue if that's something you feel is relevant to you. But other than that, you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and
Yeah,
YouTube primarily.
thousands of very good contacts on LinkedIn. I know that we've been swapping those contacts, supporting each
Mhm.
other, and I can just attest to the fact that you really have been able to develop a very extensive and very professional network.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I
excellent.
was very careful about not being a lion.
Yeah, to me it's ludicrous, and it goes against the LinkedIn policies. to be putting those kind of things, but it's insane, to see some people, they're just putting it in block letters, line.
Yeah.
Minus whatever it's supposed to mean. But
LinkedIn open
again,
networker. I'm not going to connect with just anyone. I'm protective of that, protective of my community and who I let in.
it's a very good, very, very smart approach, definitely. Well, Garrett, again, thank you so much for coming to join us and express your opinions and share some of your pearls of wisdom to our esteemed and respected audience. I hope, folks, you enjoyed this latest episode of Straight and Unfiltered. Please put some likes. Please spread the word. Share it with your contacts and friends and family. Post it on LinkedIn and any other type of social media you're utilizing. Again, this is Gene Panasanko. It's been a pleasure seeing you here, and we hope to catch up with you folks in the next few days, sometime next week with the next episode coming up. All right. So thanks very much again, Garrett, and everybody, until the next time. All right.